Hey there, and welcome to Providence Hill Presents Exit Stage Right. This is a show where we talk about the business of business in ways that you can go about building, buying, and selling your business so you can exit stage right into your next adventure and meet your financial goals. Whether you own your own company or hope to someday, here we'll break it down and talk about ways that you can set up yourself and your organization for your best and brightest future. I'm Martha Sullivan and I'm your host. So welcome to Exit Stage Right. I'm thrilled to see you here again today. We're going to have a great conversation today because what I was thinking about recently, I was actually talking with some friends, and they were remarking about how they're getting ready to, actually they're taking the plunge. They are getting ready to retire. One is my sister. My sister is retiring at the end of this month from a position that she's had for decades, and our neighbor across the street is retiring. And it got me thinking, it's like, oh, that sounds so nice. Wouldn't that be great to be able to do that? And I thought about it in a daydreaming way, and it would be really nice. But so would a 2-week vacation. That would be nice too. And when I think about that, and am I really ready to retire? Then the wheels started really turning about what we could talk about today, and has readiness. Are you really ready for a big change? Sometimes we are, and sometimes we aren't. Working with business owners, I very often hear them talk about how they are ready. I'm done. I want out. Get me out of this business now. I'm ready. And it it makes me pause and really think. It's like, I don't know if you're really ready or you're just in a bad mood. Maybe you're just having a bad day or you're in a slump. It really is a lot more to readiness than sometimes we chalk it up to. Readiness, I think a lot of times I think about readiness is a state of mind. Am I ready? Is my head in that game? Can I do it? Well, yeah, you can do it. There's no doubt in my mind that you can do it, but are you ready to do it? Are two totally different questions. I might be ready today to retire. Maybe I worked all weekend and last week was a challenging week and I'm ready. But let's really dive into when the rubber hits the road, what does readiness really mean? And in particular, when it's associated with your business, what does exit readiness mean? It isn't really what we think it is, because you really have to think about it in a multitude of ways. Because just because I woke up today and said, yep, I'm ready to retire, or yep, I'm ready to quit this job and move on, or sell the business, I'm out. That's not the bellwether of readiness, really. It's not the decision to sell or retire. Just because you make that decision doesn't mean you're ready. Because when you boil it down, it is not simply a state of mind. Readiness is a state of fact as to whether you are ready across a number of different spectrums, personally, financially, and your vision of what comes next. Or when it comes to the business, if you're a business owner, is the business ready to be owned by anybody else? From the current owner's perspective, they might believe, yeah, my company is great. It's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to run and operate and own this company? But from another person's perspective, a buyer, or maybe a next generation who would be taking it on, another business partner who might be willing to take on 100% responsibility for it? Are they willing to pay you for it? Are they willing to take it on? If they're not willing to take it on and or pay for it, then it's not ready to transfer to a new owner, is really the bottom line. You know, the state of owner readiness has been something that I have had an interest in for quite some time. And if you listen to this program, you know that I've been a member and a big, highly involved in the Exit Planning Institute and the chapter that I co-founded with a couple of my colleagues here in Wisconsin. We have done a survey of the state of owner readiness in terms of readiness for transition. And Exit Planning Institute throughout the country, there, I think we're up to like 30 chapters, and I think half of them have done state of owner readiness surveys to see how business owners are thinking about their exits. And these statistics are from the Wisconsin survey, but they are very, very similar to the other ones that we've seen throughout the country. When it comes to business owners, 2/3 of business owners don't know or they haven't considered all of their exit alternatives. They don't know what the alternatives are. 83% have no transition team. They don't have a transition plan. And 43%, I should say 80% don't have a written plan. 43% have no plan whatsoever. And when you talk to those that do have a transition plan, none of those business owners had done a strategic review of the business or a value growth project in advance of exiting to ensure that the company would deliver the value that they needed, or that it would continue to be profitable post-sale. And as I said, this is true throughout the country based on the EPI surveys that have been done on the State of Owner Readiness Survey. Bottom line, owners aren't ready. They might believe they are, but they really aren't. They haven't planned it out and they have no idea what to expect in the transition and exit process. So let's talk about the average Joe, people that aren't business owners. Well, the state of retirement readiness is not all that much better than it is for business owners leaving their business. I pulled this information from annuity.org. They collate a wide variety of fact-tested statistics around retirement. And ladies, we have some work to do. When it comes to retirement, more than half of women, but only 56, say that, yeah, retirement planning is a priority, but the men, 62% recognize that it's a priority. Over half of the women, again, 52%, determine the amount that they'll need in retirement just by guessing. 52% of us are just guessing what we need. 18% of us are actually using a calculator or some sort of tool to help estimate what might be needed, but only 10% use a financial advisor to help them understand what might be needed and how to navigate retirement planning and actually saving and building the funds for retirement. A third of women have no retirement strategy at all. And those that do have a retirement strategy, only a quarter of women have it written down. The news just keeps getting better here. When you look at total average retirement savings in the US, women have an average of about $57,000 tucked aside. The guys, they've tucked away about double that at $118,000. Only 24% of women have saved more than $250,000. And that is 45% less than the men that have the same amount. So, I mean, you've got 24% of women have more than $250,000, 35% of men have more than $250,000. Another quarter of women have only $10,000 or less saved for retirement. So it's not a really good state. You might be ready in your mind to retire, but the financial platform certainly is not there if you saw yourself in these numbers. And yet on the slide before, we know it's a priority. It should be a priority, but it can be hard to do. Absolutely, it can be hard to do, depending on your circumstances, depending on your lifestyle, depending on, the demands that are facing you. It can be very challenging, but we can do better, and we need to do better, even if it's tucking a little bit more away in the through payroll deduction into a 401k or things of that nature. So I do want to talk about really what does it mean to be ready? I like to think of it as three legs of a stool. I'm going to go back to business ownership for a minute and talk about the three legs of the stool that are related to readiness and transferring ownership. First way that you make sure you're ready is you make sure that you're maximizing the transferable value of your business. I've talked about this in other exit stage right episodes on value and how value is created, but there has to be transferable value. That is, the business can be run by someone else just as well as you, its present owner, or better. And the business does not depend on you in order to make that happen. It doesn't depend on one or two customers. You have a strong management team, and there are a wide variety of things that ensure that you're able to maximize the value of your business and its transferability. Second leg of the stool is that you're personally and financially prepared to maximize the net proceeds from the sale of your business, or you have sufficient assets outside of the business to allow you to live well in the lifestyle that you become accustomed to without the business. Excuse me. And lastly, that you have a plan for what you're going to do post-exit. And I'll talk about that one in a minute, a little bit more. So these translate into the same legs of the stool, similar legs of the stool for retirement, or even if not retirement, shifting to doing something else, shifting to your next adventure. First of all, I believe you need to make sure you've accomplished all that you want to accomplish in your current adventure, be that owning the business, owning your current job position, your leadership position, or whatever adventure you are focused on right now. Maybe it's raising your family or other activities, but you've really accomplished everything that you have hoped to accomplish and believe that you can. So you've maximized your potential in that lane. Ensure that you've done that, then you're ready. If you feel like you might have left something on the table, then maybe you're not ready, and that deserves some examination. The personal and financial preparations aren't all that different. You need to be able to make sure that you're able to do that in a financially sound way to shift from your current adventure to your next adventure. In retirement, if you're leaving the workforce, let's frame it that way. Maybe you're leaving the workforce to move on to your next adventure. Well, then realistically, from a financial perspective, you are moving from a what wealth advisors or financial advisors refer to as an accumulation phase, where you are earning money and hopefully saving for retirement and a rainy day and things of that nature. You're moving from a accumulation phase to a drawdown phase. That is when you start needing to rely on your 401k monies that you have saved, your Roth monies that you have put away, any pension that you might have through a former employer, as well as any Social Security funds that you may be eligible for. You're drawing on those resources now in order to live and enjoy life. So you need to make sure that you're personally and financially prepared for that shift. And that is a true monetary shift. And it is also a mental and emotional shift, in terms of we have an identity when we are wage earners, regardless of what we do, that does play into our psyche versus when we are not wage earners. And so that takes some time and preparation, which brings us to number 3, whether you're exiting a business, you're leaving the workforce, or you are moving on to a next adventure. It's so important to have a plan for what is next. What does that look like? What do you want? What do you still have that burning fire to go achieve? About a year and a half ago, I had the opportunity to leave the workforce for good. And we talked about it, and we figured, we could do it. But I didn't want to. There are still too many things I want to do, like this with Win-Win Women and with my clients. And I was not prepared to leave the workforce. But I also had to take the time before I left that particular employment situation. I needed to set the stage and set the framework for what is now Providence Hill Consulting and an affiliation with the Family Business Consulting Group. I had to plan that out. I had to think that through. It's kind of like the old-fashioned wing walkers. If you think about in the old times when the stunts where there was a guy walking from one side of the wings over to the others, well, he was holding on to the bar. And he would always hold on to one bar, grab the next before he let go of the other. So it's kind of doing the same thing as we're getting ready for a big change. Make sure you're wing walking, you have a plan for what's coming next, and you started to put things in place to make that plan a reality. So I want to talk a little bit more about what does it mean to be ready in your business in particular. What does that look like? Excuse me. So I alluded to it a little bit earlier. And what it really boils down to is that your business is ready to transfer, and your business is ready for you to exit when it can operate smoothly and profitably, whether you are there or not. So a great test that I encourage my business owners that are thinking about it is, okay, can you go on a 2 or 3 week vacation and not pick up the phone, not check in email, just walk away from the business for 2 or 3 weeks, and be confident that when you come back, everything will be just fine. It'll be running profitably. The sales will have been staying on track. Stuff will have been getting out the door. Life is still good. When you can get to that point, you are much closer to having the business be able to operate without you and not skip a beat. The other bellwether is reliance on key a key person such as the owner yourself, or perhaps key, maybe it's a key salesperson. If that salesperson left, 2/3 of your business would go. That would be a bad thing. You don't want that type of reliance on a key employee. You don't want that type of reliance on a key customer. And as we learned throughout the pandemic and all our supply chain challenges, you don't want too much reliance on a single supplier either for your business. Third thing, you want to make sure that your systems are well documented, they're scalable, and they're transferable. So what do I mean by that? It means the process I use for gaining sales is, yes, we use a CRM system, but I've also cross-trained my sales team on some of the nuances and techniques and the winning ways that we can put into place. And there's institutional knowledge that can transfer from person to person to person. So the systems are humming and they're being leveraged in a way that is really delivering value to the company. And lastly, your financial performance, your financial systems, and your management systems, all of those are strong. You have a management team, you're leveraging the data that the financial systems are telling you. So anybody coming in and looking at your business can have confidence that they too can rely on business generating the type of results that you have. So let's talk a little bit about what does it look like when you are ready. It's a little bit different, isn't it, in terms of what it looks like when we've prepared ourselves for a big change like that. Well, first of all, you have sufficient financial resources. I strongly encourage you, if you don't have a financial advisor that you've met with, or you don't have a personal financial plan, put one together. Get some counsel, get some advice from somebody that is a financial planner and advisor to help you through that. It is such a valuable process, and the tools that they can use, you can go through what ifs and understand where you're at in terms of your income inflows and how you're spending your money. What is the money going to, and how do those priorities shift if you step out of the workforce or step out of your current situation and into a new one. You want to make sure that all of that is aligned. You also really, I get back to that third step in terms of having a vision and plan for what you want to do with your time if you leave your current scenario, whether you leave your business or your current occupation. What is it you want to do with your time? What's your passion? What's your purpose? How are you really going to make the most out of every day? You know, we hear talk of business owners. In fact, the Exit Planning Institute cites a survey that was done by one of the larger CPA firms quite a while back, but they were citing a survey where 2/3 of the business owners that were polled 12 months after they sold their business, not 2/3, 3/4, I'm sorry, 75% of them profoundly regretted selling their business. And a large part of that was due to two factors. First factor was they didn't have a realistic expectation as to what the value of their business would be. That is, they thought it was more transferable. They thought it was more ready than it actually was. And people weren't willing to pay them the price that they thought it was warranting because it wasn't ready. So that was one factor. But another huge factor was the fact that they walked out of the business and ownership without any plan as to what they were going to do next. And with that derails you. You're kind of at a boat adrift. It's like if that 2-week vacation or that 3-week vacation just went on and on and on and on. At a certain point, fishing or golfing or doing whatever it is you enjoy to do is going to get a bit monotonous. So you have to have a plan and identify a new passion, purpose, or focus that really is going to light that gas in the tank that you have and keep you moving. And here's the other critical piece that a friend of mine, a colleague that I know within the Family Business Consulting Group, Stephanie Brun de Ponte, talks about a lot, and that is that you've taken steps to build the bridge to those new activities. So, for example, before I left my prior employment, I started putting things in place so I could take the stepping stones in setting up Providence Hill Consulting. If I were to retire and I wanted to be on some boards and active with some charitable organizations, the best thing I can do is start exploring those things and choosing which ones I might want to be a part of or being invited to be on one of those boards beforehand. So when I do walk away from my current employment, I'm not going cold turkey and those building blocks are already in place. So that's what I had for today, because as I said, you know, there was a time, several times this weekend, it's like, oh man, it would just be so nice just to, it's beautiful out. I want to go play. I don't want to work anymore. I just want to, oh no, really, what would I do? What would I do? And am I really ready? Am I not ready? Are we able to answer all of those 3 legs of the stool or not? Well, I'm here today, so now you know my answer, right? So I'm going to keep enjoying what I'm doing and building those blocks for when that day comes, when I truly am ready, both in my mindset and on the legs of the stool. Because you know what, just waking up crabby, that's not ready. That's just being crabby. So that brings us to the end of our show today. I am so happy you joined us today. This is Exit Stage Right. If you have any questions or ideas for the show, please email us at esr@providencehill.com. Again, ESR, that stands for Exit Stage Right, at providencehill.com. And we're happy to take your questions and ideas for future shows. If you're interested in learning more about readiness, in particular, the Get a Grip workshop that we offer here at Providence Hill is coming up in July. That is a great program. It runs for 7 weeks, 1 hour a week, where we really talk about what it is to get a grip on the value of your business and being ready for an ownership transition. And that builds a bridge to our Finding True Value workshop series. Now, the next Finding True Value workshop series is starting next month. If you're interested, by all means, please visit, excuse me, please visit our website. You can find those workshops at providencehill.com/workshops, or you can scan the QR code and it'll take you to the workshops page. So I am Martha Sullivan. I am ecstatic that you are here today, and I have confidence that life is good, and you know what? Go transform your business. And I've got a good feeling about this. Make it happen. We can do it. Have a good day, everyone.